Hello Year 6 and welcome to Thursday's maths lesson. Now, for the last couple of days we've been looking at multiplication, we've been doing some mental methods and some short multiplication. But today we are going to be focusing on using long multiplication, and that's page 13. Now, long multiplication is something we have done in school, but I want to recap it and go over it. Now, your work for the last couple of days has been brilliant, like I said. But one thing that I've noticed with lots of the little mistakes is that it's your times tables. It's making little mistakes with your times table questions. Loads of you have been on Times Table Rockstars, which is absolutely brilliant. You've been getting involved in the battles. And by going on that every day, it keeps your times tables in your mind. Lots of you are much better than me at times tables because you practice them all the time. And some of you have to help me sometimes. Okay, so for our starter, to get our brains going today, I want to look at times tables again. They're so important in so many different maths, but you'll definitely need them today. So I want to get them right at the front of your mind. So we're going to have a little refresh of them. So we're going to use the game that we did yesterday. So again, I've got the QR code for you to pause and scan. But also I will send it out on Marvellous Me, the link to the game, okay? So scan the QR code or follow the link. And it comes up with this screen again. Okay, so I want you to select multiplication and a level. And then it'll come up with here. Now, some of you might want to choose to focus on a times table you know that you find tricky. But there's also down this side here an option to do mixed. So I'm going to select up to the 12 times table. I'm going to give myself 3 seconds. So remember, it's 10 questions. Jot your answers down in your purple book, and at the end you can mark them. So write down the answers to the questions. So remember, it's quick. It's getting it into your brain really quickly. Okay, so answer each of the questions. And when you get to the end, give them a mark. I want you to have a few goes on this game. Get those times tables going. Remind yourselves of the ones that you often forget, because that will really, really help you with today's learning. Okay? So remember, when you get to question 10, the screen will come up where you can click on the answers and see how you did. Okay? So have a few games on that first to get those times tables going. Okay? So, your long multiplication then. So on today's work, so page 13, we're only going to do section 1 and section 3. I don't want you to do this middle section. So just section 1 and section 3 we're going to look at today. And it's all long multiplication. It's lots and lots of practice with long multiplication. So, I'm going to show you an example. And you're going to have a go in your purple book. And then we'll come back together to see how you did and see if you made any mistakes. Now you'll see in section 1, it's asking you for the product of two numbers. Now we talked about this word earlier in the week. So that just means multiply. So the product of two numbers is two numbers multiplied together. Okay, so for my first example, it's the product of 580 and 34. Okay, now my top tip then first is to make sure, so you're going to have to lay these out in your purple book. The first section hasn't got any working out space, so you're going to need to use purple book to work it out. I couldn't do this in my head. I would always have to write it down. So please make sure you write it down and set it out correctly. Okay, so I've got 580 multiplied by 34. So we need to use long multiplication when we're multiplying by a 2-digit number or more. Okay, so it's got to be long multiplication. Okay, so I've got to multiply 5, 8 and 0 by 4 and then 5, 8 and 0 by 30. So a top tip then, straight away put your placeholder in. Now you'll remember when we did this together in school that we used a party ring. So put your placeholder in before you do anything because it's easy to forget to put that placeholder in. So please remember, first thing to do is put your placeholder in. And that's on the second line here, okay? So then I'm going to not worry about the 30 at the moment, and I'm just going to do 5, 8 and 0 multiplied by 4. Now remember, we always start at the ones, so it's 0 times 4. Now I've purposely put that 0 in because that's another mistake I've spotted. That remember, when we multiply by 0, any number in the world multiplied by 0 is 0, okay? So anything multiplied by 0 is 0. So 0 multiplied by 4 is 0. 8 multiplied by 4 is 32. 5 multiplied by 4 is 20, plus the 3 is 23. Okay, make sure you cross your carrying off, otherwise you might accidentally add that in at the end. Okay, so now I'm on to multiplying it all by 30. Now I've put my 0 in ready, so I've not forgotten, because remember it's not 0 times 3, it's 0 times 30, so I need to make it 10 times bigger. So I've put my 0 in. So now I can do them. So ignore the 4, so it's 0 times 3. So remember, anything multiplied by 0 is 0. 8 times 3, so that's 24. And then 5 times 3, which is 15, add the 2, is 17. Okay, so I've done 580 multiplied by 4 and 580 multiplied by 30. Okay, so then the final step is to add these two together. So 0 add 0 is 0, 2 add 0 is 2, 3 add 4 is 7, 2 add 7 is 9, and 0 add 1 is 1. Okay? So I want you to use that example and I want you to have a go at this one here. So this one is 362 multiplied by 37. Remember to put your placeholder in before you start. Okay, so pause the video now and have a go at this one. Okay, so you should have had a go at that one now. So I'm going to go through it with you. Follow me going through it step by step to see how you did. Okay, and see if you made any mistakes, see if you can spot where they were. So I'm going to first ignore the 30 and multiply each of these numbers by the 7. Okay, so 2 times 7 is 14. 6 times 7 is 42, but I've got 1 to add, so that's 43. 3 times 7 is 21, plus 4 is 25. So I've multiplied each of these numbers by 7. Right, then my placeholder's ready, because now I'm multiplying by 30. So I've put my 0 in, my placeholder to make it 10 times bigger. So 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 3 is 18. And 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. And then my final step is to add those two numbers together. So 4 add nothing is 4. 6 add 3 is 9. 8 add 5 is 13. 2 add 1 is 3. And then nothing add 1 is 1. So I've got 13,394. Okay, so all of your questions today are long multiplication. So the first section, remember, you're going to need your purple book. You're going to need your purple book to do these ones because you need somewhere to write it out. And then ignore section 2. And then section 3 is still long multiplication. Again, you might want to write it out in your purple book because it might make it a bit clearer. Okay, so all of these are long multiplication. Okay, if you're unsure, go back to the beginning where I've done the examples and work through the examples and see where you're going. If you're still unsure, make sure you get in touch. Okay, there's lots and lots of steps to long multiplication, so don't worry, take your time. Okay, well done Year 6, keep up the fantastic work.